Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and I-Man here from the Block Runner, MetaZone, Rovi, and MScribe. And today we're going to be talking about some treasury companies, dude.
It's that time of the week.
Yeah, stock it up, dude.
It's Stonks, dude, not stock. Stonks
Where did Stonks come from, dude?
He's right here. I don't know.
Why Stonk?
Well, because traditionally, web degens, crypto types, they frowned on the idea of investing in stocks, right?
Okay.
Therefore, stonks is kind of like humorous. Huh, you invest in stonks? What a loser, right?
Look at us now.
Yeah, now look at us, dude. Now crypto's out and stonks are back, dude. They're all the rage, right? So we're adopting the trends as we do.
Yeah.
But there's good reason to it. More than so just like charts are going up and to the right? That's what we're all seeking.
They certainly are.
Yeah, but you're doing some like exercises off cam to continually reinforce the conviction behind all of this like new transition of wealth in this direction.
Yeah. So let's tee it up. Let's set up the environment here for the folks.
Yeah, like why stonks?
Yeah, why are we talking about stonks, and why is this important?
Yeah.
And so I stumbled upon a Van X U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve could help offset the national debt. So take a look at this, right? So right now the U.S. is $36 trillion in debt, right? 2025. If we assume a 5% compound annual growth rate, which on average has been roughly 7%, 25 years, we're going to be $116 trillion in debt.
Ouch. That's painful to think about, dude.
Yeah, so
we already have in today's debt environment, we got Elon spinning off new political parties. We got an entire generation
living with their parents.
Yeah. So what are we talking about at 116 trillion?
Yeah. Not only that, people can't buy houses because it's too expensive. People are heavily in debt.
Yeah.
So then what do you do? It's like, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah, that's becoming a pretty pressing topic, right? I mean, again, to the point where Elon is a complete disagreement with his once best friend, Donald Trump, completely separated.
Yeah.
To a new faction of a political party. I had never seen an argument get to that.
We're proud to be Americans, right?
The American Party.
That's right.
Yeah, we were talking about all this is going to do is like guarantee Democrats
for sure
winning next cycle.
Yeah.
But still, it's going to be funny to vote as an American for the first time officially. If you're part of the American Party, it's like, how did you not, right? You could Democrat, Republican, or American. You're going to pick American every time.
Every time.
Or you're un-American by definition.
Yeah.
What a solid name, dude.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. So then what do you do? It's like, what are the options really? So one of the options Van Eck is proposing is, well, the United States should acquire some Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And so they have another calculator here is, let's assume the average acquisition price of their Bitcoin is 100,000 and a 25% compound annual growth rate. So compound annual growth rate for Bitcoin has been on average for the last decade around 60%. So here we have it at 25%, so it's very conservative.
Yeah.
And then the total Bitcoin acquired by 2029, so this is just 5 years from now, is 1 million.
Okay.
And that will give you $21 trillion in value, which would be 18%.
Okay.
Right? Kind of, you hit a dent, right? You dent the debt a little bit, but not quite enough. So let's assume that we move this 25% to closer to 30%. And
why are you doing that? Just to like show the difference of like the potentiality?
Well, or we should stick with 25% and let's move this to 4 million.
Yeah, because
this is what my suggestion would be.
And others, there's like, isn't it like Senator Loomis is suggesting 4 million or something?
She has mentioned that, but she's like, okay, let's start with 1 million.
Yeah. There's like a rational entry to all this, but still, if the case can be made that for the United States to remain competitive in like the power projection theory sense of the word, to remain relevant economically, and like as soon as other countries start to compete in this race, to maintain positioning in that 4 million represents what, like a 20%.
20%, yeah.
It's pretty good.
At 4 million, there isn't another country or company that's going to overtake the United States.
Correct.
That's why I think it's critical to do it now when the prices are cheaper, because they wouldn't be able to do this later on.
Yeah, now we're talking 73%.
Yeah, 73%.
Under this scenario.
And this is a very conservative
Yeah, now just finagle it a little bit to the upside.
So now let's just add 2% to this. Now we're
covered.
We're in the profits.
We're fucking rich, dude.
Yeah.
We're cooking as a country again.
Yeah, this is a situation the United States has never been in, or any other country really.
Yeah. So that was cool. You showed me this. It makes sense. That's why Van Eck and others are kind of like trying to make this argument case, right? Why right now, corporate institutions are starting to understand the value of Bitcoin and how it's compounding the growth of their entities and such.
Exactly, yes.
But it hasn't reached to the government level yet. Probably won't until maybe next cycle, once this like corporate euphoric phase kind of dries out.
Yeah.
And then countries kind of realize, like, to solve our debt issues, this
yeah.
is it.
Yeah.
This is all we got.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm going to play this clip, and hopefully I have the audio ready here. Let's test it out.
Us at Fundstrat, we've been
this is Tom Lee.
Bitcoin for over 8 years now. But when MicroStrategy announced its Treasury strategy, it was really eye-opening to see it traded a premium to their Bitcoin holdings. And that was like something that was very hard for our clients to reconcile. We ended up, of course, being pretty bullish on it. It told me two things. One, now that MicroStrategy has 600,000 Bitcoin, it is so big that I think it has a sovereign put. Like, it is, if the United States or Qatar or UAE want to get 1 million Bitcoin, they're not going to go in the open market. They're going to end up buying treasury holders like MicroStrategy, and it's easier for them to pay a 2 times premium for that rather than run Bitcoin up to $1 million. Then I just realized that treasury strategies are really important to crypto for a lot of reasons. One is that in a staking world like Ethereum, crypto treasuries are actually probably a precursor to what JP Morgan and the Goldmans will do, because eventually they're going to own crypto on their balance sheet, and as they issue stable coins, they're going to actually want to stake Ethereum and Solana. And it's creating an asset class. I think it's not too dissimilar to how oil companies historically trade on a premium to their proven reserves, because investors expect them to accumulate additional reserves. ExxonMobil was the largest stock in the S&P 500 for 25 years, from 1990 to 2015. Top 5, never dropped below top 5. It was never valued on earnings. It was always a price premium to its proven reserves. And MicroStrategy probably will become the biggest stock in the US as a listed company, and it doesn't make earnings. It's valued purely on its price to Bitcoin reserve.
Okay, now let's go back to this calculator, and let's go back to assuming that we're looking at MicroStrategy.
Yeah.
Right, with 1 million Bitcoin.
Yeah, which initially we were theorizing as like a sensible stockpile for the United States government.
Right.
There is a country a company that exists today that is like
on its way
nearing that stockpile.
Yeah. So at a 27.5% compound annual growth rate, we're looking at a $34 trillion assets under management by MicroStrategy.
Correct.
And so at a 2x, we're looking at a $64 trillion valuation for a company. 64. Right now, the most valuable company is around $3 trillion with NVIDIA.
Yeah. This is how far out? 2049, it says?
And 2049, yeah, 25 years. And what's the market cap of MicroStrategy right now? Do you remember?
It's like roughly 100 billion.
100 billion. That's 340x minimum in 25 years.
Yeah, not factoring it. Yeah, not factoring in the premium value,
which you're looking at 600, 700x
potentially. Yeah, assuming the existing premium to the 2 to 2.5x maintains.
Which it's reasonable because ExxonMobil was doing that.
Yeah, even so, it's like still you run this experiment out for, I don't know, like another year, and Bitcoin triples in value or something.
Yeah, right.
We're talking, MicroStrategy should be potentially in the $1 trillion category, most likely.
Yeah.
And what is that going to do to like the speculative fervor around that? It's, for one, it's going to ping everybody's awareness and attention, right? On Wall Street, anybody who has any like economic interest, they're going to discover that there's a Bitcoin treasury company that is competing with the tech giants.
Yes.
That's going to change and shift everybody's like mentality and perception of like what is investable moving forward. Right?
Yeah.
So therefore, it makes a lot of sense now to understand that reality is coming.
Right? Yeah, and I want to emphasize, you're 100% correct, but these are still very conservative numbers, right? If you look at Apple, Microsoft, Google, Nvidia, 30 years ago, we're talking about millions of percent. Here, we're talking about 70,000%.
Yeah.
And so in those companies in those days, that was a moment to buy what was going to be more valuable in like today's societies, like technology, right? The microprocessor, started all this. Yeah. You invest in those companies that leverage that asset in the same way you invest in companies who are leveraging the Bitcoin asset.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So again, very, very conservative here. All right. So let's continue on.
So that's like one data point, right? Is like finagling with that calculator, understanding what's actually happening, and the macro implications of Bitcoin itself, to like government institutions and how it could solve like some real deep issues.
Yeah.
That's just one. And then factor in like existing corporate entities are already like actively putting that strategy into work.
That's right.
And like we're witnessing right now, here's another company as an example, wildly successful results.
Yeah, so we're talking about Metaplanet. So this is a Japanese company who started taking advantage of this strategy, and the company's stock has increased almost 10,000% since it's adopted the Bitcoin standard.
Yeah, and you're asking me, did I even know what Metaplanet was as a company pre-Bitcoin?
Right.
I thought maybe it's a metaverse company, Maybe something to do with gaming.
It's interesting that it has nothing to do with that, yet it uses the word meta.
Yeah, I just assumed.
Yeah.
Right?
No, but it's a hotel company.
Yeah, what the fucky, dude? I never would have guessed.
They got wrecked by COVID, as a lot of companies did, because they had to shut down. And then, this guy was like, well, I got to think of a different strategy. And Saylor was like, hey, you should just buy Bitcoin, because he was talking about buying Bitcoin in 2020 when COVID hit. And so he initiated the strategy, and then he was inspired and took advantage of it. And now it's 10,000%.
Yeah, incredible. Literally a company that was probably like on a death's door, adopting a new strategy, and is now valued at like $6 to $10 billion range as a company. That's insane.
Yeah,
that's tremendous. So
yeah, and I want to add one more thing. So looking ahead, Metaplanet has aggressively accumulated its target. It plans to hold 30,000 Bitcoin by the end of 2025, 100,000 by 2026, and 210,000 by 2027.
Yeah.
So in 2 more years, this is like a sovereign company's like balance sheet right here.
Like
a sovereign country. Like,
yeah. It puts it in the category of a MicroStrategy. By then, MicroStrategy will probably have 1 million.
Yes.
Most likely.
Yeah.
If they continue at their existing rates of, Bitcoin acquisition.
Yeah. And so what strategy are they using? It's called torque.
Okay.
The Bitcoin torque.
Whatever that is, dude, explain torque to me from a physics perspective. What is that? What does torque do?
You know the gear ratio in like combustion engines?
Oh, no. Okay. Yeah, the gear ratio, sure. Of course I know about that, the gear ratio.
Well, the ratio, it's the ratio where these gears have to like provide power to the ground. And so you have to design it in a way where you become efficient in how you put power to the ground.
Right.
And so he did financial engineering.
Yeah.
And he's created like all these different stock portfolio options for different demographic of investors.
I see. So now you can get exposure to these are basically derivative spin-offs of like the master.
Yeah,
stock.
but they're designed in a way where they
sustain each other.
They support sort of the entire ecosystem here.
Yeah, but at the end of it all, this is the master engineering, financial engineering that Michael Saylor's cooked up to enable him to essentially perpetually just pull money out of the atmosphere and to just buy more Bitcoin with it.
Yes, correct.
And that's why people have confidence in his like projections, right? It's like, yeah, we're going to hit 1 million.
Yeah.
Maybe even 2.
Yeah.
You got this machine here.
I feel like if I was Michael Saylor, I'd be going for 2 for sure.
Yeah, you at least have to say that.
Yeah.
You at least have to convince people that you're going for 2, right? 1 is too close.
Yeah.
If you get 2 million, dude, yeah, we're talking, they might have a bigger stockpile than the U.S. government.
Yeah, that's true. Because if you say your target is 1 million, you hit 1 million, your price dumps.
Price go down.
Yeah.
And machines go a bust.
Yeah.
Machine cannot bust, dude.
But it turns out Bitcoin isn't the only asset.
Yeah. So this is why. Okay, so we got some major signals, right? Metaplanet, 100x, dead company revived because of Bitcoin Treasury strategy. Michael Saylor on his way to literally compete with the United States, like in as far as like, you know, balance sheet wealth. Pretty insane for a company to achieve, right?
Yeah.
So we got these major signals, and then we got like a whole laundry list of other entry participants over the last month or two.
Correct.
Right. One of them we've talked about, asset entities.
Yeah. So we're looking at a chart here over the 5 days, and it went from around say $4 to $10.
Yeah. So this is like a recent, company we've talked about recently that's announced their merger with Strive, which is an asset management company. This is another new Bitcoin treasury management entity that has spun up over the last month or two.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, the tidbit of differentiators between these is going to be a little bit more, I don't know, like complex, right? To kind of judge which ones have viability versus another.
Yeah, they're going to come up with creative ways to acquire Bitcoin, whether it's through revenue, through other sort of mechanisms to generate value to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, we talked about these guys have like a three-pronged approach where it's like they're literally siphoning value from dying companies, specifically biotech companies, in order to increase their Bitcoin stack, yada, 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 right? But they made a recent announcement of like a new executive partner.
Yeah.
That is the kind of the catalyst in a sense for why the price went up, right? It's this guy.
Yeah. So Jeff has proven he's one of the sharpest minds and the hardest workers in Bitcoin treasury management. Excited to have him officially join the Strive team full time as we gear up for the bigger and faster in our race to maximize Bitcoin holdings for asset.
It's interesting.
Maybe we're going to get recruited one of these days, dude.
Yeah, it's interesting. They're going after podcasters, dude.
Yeah.
To be like treasury strategists.
So this is our formal application.
I mean, we're down. Anybody need a couple crypto degens as their vice president of crypto strategy? We're in, dude.
Yeah.
We're in there.
Hell yeah.
But the market liked this news, right? And this is what I like to see from this asset class, right? Is a market with a pulse. Meaning, like, you know, something like this, it's just an announcement of a new like member of the team. Price go up pretty dramatically, right?
Yeah.
If you're leveraging these opportunities and positioning yourself before these announcements are made, maybe you got call options on this stock, you're profiting pretty well.
Yeah. This reminds me of the good old days of 2017 where just a small announcement, just like...
Somebody slaps an Apple sticker on like a skateboard. I remember this actually happened in crypto. And someone takes a picture, like someone on the team just holding a skateboard with an Apple logo. It's like confirmation Apple is in.
Right.
And price 10x overnight. You know?
Yeah,
that's what you're looking for. This is confirmation of a bubble forming, right? And people hear the word bubble, they associate negatively with that. But so long as you're in the early stages of that bubble formation, this is the biggest opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So yeah, congratulations to Jeff. Let's continue on here. So Bit Digital, like I said, Bitcoin isn't the only asset in the ecosystem. There's Ethereum.
Yeah, there's other cryptos out there, guys.
Yeah.
If you didn't know.
So Bit Digital, we are aligning ourselves with Ethereum's long-term potential. Bit Digital accumulated 100,000 ETH, and we intend to aggressively add more to become the preeminent ETH holding company in the world.
So that's interesting. They were a Bitcoin miner. They had a big stockpile of Bitcoin. They could have easily just, you know, hey, we're just going to buy more Bitcoin. But I think they saw an opportunity because it's like that market, the Bitcoin treasury market's pretty saturated, pretty like there's some big players there already, but the Ethereum side of things is just starting.
It's just starting, yeah.
Literally, like the bell was rung today.
Yeah, so it isn't like basically saying that Bitcoin has less value. It's just there's a higher upside with Ethereum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's another market here for shoes to be filled. So why not put my name in the race, right?
Yeah. So Bit Digital shifts treasury strategy with 100K ETH buy. Stock surges 30%.
It's working.
Yeah.
So the market's looking for these new entrants, right? And this is the opportunity if you're a struggling company or whatever, or just paying attention. It's to participate in this new market activity, right?
Yeah. So here we are. Bit Digital, the market cap is $1 billion.
All right.
It's pretty good.
How's it doing today?
Up 7%.
All right. So here we go. We're looking at Stonks, dude, all over again. But the one I would kind of like really pay close attention to is SharpLink, right? Because this is in crypto, we like to say the first mover, right?
Yeah.
In crypto, firsts mean a lot, like to the market.
Yeah.
You know, if you're first at something, you typically tend to always maintain your position in most cases, your positional lead in that category, right? Just as like nobody's ever going to surpass Michael Saylor.
Yeah, no.
He's the first to do it. So like the first in the Ethereum category, it will probably be labeled Joe Lubin and SharpLink.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so this is a market cap of about $1 billion, and it's up 28% today.
Yeah, which is pretty good. So it's rallying off of a couple of things. Here there's some stock market finagling here.
Yeah, SharpLink rang the closing bell at NASDAQ. Ethereum is now officially part of the financial system. Here we are, celebrating.
There it is, dude. We've done it.
We did it.
Look. This is him, actually. This is Joe Lubin.
No. Okay.
What, it has strikeable audio? God dang it. I guess we're going to be strucketh for this one, but it's fine.
Well, I don't know. Maybe that was like...
Too short?
Too short. But yeah, here we are celebrating. ETH is part of the traditional financial system. Congrats, TJ.
Thank you. I've worked hard on this.
This is all per your diamond hands, dude. They would never have been able to execute on this if you would have flopped your bags.
Never.
Never. But this is a big signal to Wall Street, right? They're paying attention, you know, as they're on their yachts and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They got CNBC cranked on in the background as the closing bell is ringing. It's like, SharpLink, Ethereum. Yeah. What do you mean? I could trade ETH in the stock market now?
Yeah.
They couldn't do that, but now they have access to it through these like treasury companies. The same way they have access to Bitcoin exposure through MicroStrategy or Metaplanet or whatever.
Yeah, we're talking about hundreds of trillions of dollars worth of value being able to have access to this stuff.
We're talking real whales, you know.
Yeah.
There's like crypto whales. Everybody freaked out over some guy who made like $100 million on perps and then lost it all. I mean, that is a big deal, but that guy isn't even like a minnow in these environments, you know.
Yeah, so SharpLink now holds 205,000 ETH. Between June 28th and July 4th, SharpLink acquired 7,000 ETH. During that same period, the company raised an additional $64 million through its at-the-market facility.
So they're doing it, right?
Yeah.
This is what Michael Saylor's been doing for the last 4 years, you know, selling stock, buying Bitcoin. So SharpLink, here they are. They're going to keep announcing probably every week or every other week. We got a new boatload of Ethereum coming in.
Yeah.
And what does that look like? A nice little second place positioning, maybe soon to be first.
Yeah, 205,000 versus Ethereum Foundation with 244,000.
Which, by the way, they've like historically been dumping that ETH, right? Part of the catalyst of why ETH hasn't performed well as an asset, like a standalone crypto asset.
Right.
Is the negative sentiment around the foundation of it just like constantly liquidating their holdings.
Yeah, that's not
when they should have been adding to it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
They just don't get it, dude. But Wall Street does.
Yeah,
these guys are coming in to show us crypto blokes how it should be done.
Right.
You stack.
Yeah, you stack it. You don't sell it. Correct.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the video for today. Bitcoin and Ethereum are your assets to be holding
for now,
and
more
stocks.
Will come. Yeah.
And stocks are your assets to be acquiring
and paying attention to, because clearly the charts reflect that. There's a pulse here. The market likes what they see, and this is only going to get more drastic, I think, over time as more people start to realize the opportunity, and as Michael Saylor and Joe Lubin and Tom Lee, these guys start to like really put the pedal to the metal.
Yeah,
and we start to see these stock valuations creep up into the, you know, there's multiples of them in the S&P 500, right?
Yes.
This is going to be a real shocker, I think, for people to digest.
Yeah, and if you guys have found any treasury companies that we haven't talked about yet that you want us to look into, definitely put it in the comment section below. I appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.
Peace.